Hey everyone, Pugs here with two new reviews for y'all. Today I'm covering super evil aquatic villain team-up is Go and Chum Fricassee. That first episode title is literally just evil. Maybe that's why they chose it. It's funny though, because it reminds me of Plankton's army and that one scene of Plankton being obnoxiously verbose when trying to recruit other people. Maybe the title is a reference to that, or not. I mean, being obnoxiously verbose is just a joke in general. Alright, well, anyway, it's nice to see that these are both Plankton heavy episodes. In fact, they're both Plankton episodes where he teams up with another person. Pretty nice to have sister episodes have such a strong connecting thread. As always, thank you all for watching the video today. Your viewership is very appreciated. And now, let's just get right into it. For today's first episode, we've got an episode with a mouthful of a title. Seriously, it's cute, but I am not saying that over and over again. Also, whenever I see the title of this episode, I always think of the Bad Guy Club for Villains. It's just that mix of length and redundancy, with a hint of Mojo Jojo. Also, Man Ray is in both episodes, given that he is a for-real supervillain, so that's neat too, and another point of connection. So I guess in some ways, this episode can be seen as a quasi-Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy episode. Kind of. Super evil aquatic villain team-up is Go begins kinda dully, if I'm being honest. SpongeBob's little song about going to work is thankfully not unpleasant to listen to, but it does feel like it's filling up space rather than actually doing anything interesting. I did appreciate all the cameos in this first segment though. There were references to Opposite Day, Crabs vs. Plankton, and a number of other episodes through these cameos. And again, this just adds fuel to the fire that is my argument about how the show has always engaged in self-reference. Anyway, back to the beginning of the episode. Yeah, so it's kind of dull. Even the Doomsday Device thing isn't enough to get me interested beyond my general interest in anything the show puts out. But things do start to get moving somewhat. Well, it takes a minute because we have to sit through a not very funny laughing joke. Once Plankton looks in the phone book and sees Man Ray's ad. The idea of Plankton and Man Ray working together is actually interesting, and something that has made all too much sense ever since the premiere of Plankton's army. So yes, I very much like this idea. The problem for this episode is that this idea never goes anywhere. First off, the episode takes too long on their introduction with another, I won't say unfunny, but it's certainly not funny, a sequence of Man Ray being confused about who is talking to him. And then the episode proceeds to not have Man Ray and Plankton interact very much. Like, it would have been fun to see them plan their ultimate assault on the Krusty Krab, but instead we just go straight to them working together as a team. It doesn't feel earned, and it feels like we're missing opportunities to give the people what they want to see, which is Man Ray and Plankton actually developing a working relationship. I also think that a lot of the part where SpongeBob tries to go get Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy is kind of dull and boring. Some of it is funny, as I'll talk about later, but a lot of it is not very entertaining, especially when the entire endeavor turns out to be pointless. Also pointless is Plankton and Man Ray teaming up, since the only thing that comes from that is Plankton getting his hands on a death laser, something he's already been shown to have many times before. And yeah, I know the whole point is that Plankton and Man Ray's team up turns out to be anticlimactic and hilariously, I say sarcastically, ruined by themselves, but, well, it doesn't work for me, and instead of being amusingly anticlimactic, it's just frustratingly anticlimactic. One thing I thought was interesting in this episode is the art, kind of. Like, there's something about it that really clues me into the fact that we're about to get that big time art switch with the show going into the HD format in season 9. I think it's the colors. They feel a lot like the colors used in the second movie, honestly, which isn't even how season 9's colors were, so all of this is very weird. But not necessarily bad, other than a few incidents of those rounded cheek designs that I don't like. At least the end of the episode was a lovely everybody laughs type of ending. Even Squidward got in on it. If only we'd seen the Krusty Krab trio actually work together throughout the episode. I keep saying things I dislike about this episode, but there are, of course, things I like too. Mr. Krabs, like he almost always is absolutely hilarious. His dramatics when Man Ray show up are great, and I love him and Squidward's dynamic in this episode. See, now that's a dynamic that's been explored and used well. The Man Ray and Plankton one needs a lot of work, if it ever even gets revisited again. The joke with the floating cups was fun too. SpongeBob getting kicked out of Shady Shoals was pretty funny too. So basically, things not having to do with the main plot were generally good, which is bad for an episode. Super evil aquatic villain team-up is Go is an episode where I felt like I kept waiting for something to happen, like I was waiting for a good action sequence or a hilarious joke or for a good plot, but most of these things didn't really happen. Everything just felt like a non-ending in the end, and it's kind of disappointing? The most disappointing thing is easily the way Man Ray and Plankton's potential dynamic flopped, though. Like, come on, it was right there. It's just frustrating how much of a non-starter this execution was. And so there is no place to put this episode but my okay tier, where it comes in with a score of 6.2 out of 10. Well, alright then. Here we are at Chum Fricassee, or as I like to call it, Squidward and Plankton interacting take 2. I mean, that's basically what this episode is, right? And this is nowhere near a bad thing. As I mentioned in my review of the first attempt at this pair, Sweet and Sour Squid, this episode actually does justice to this character pair. Let's talk about it. Chum Fricassee starts off pretty well, which is usually a great sign. Or, well, I guess that's not true. It's just a good thing then. I always say this, but I love when SpongeBob's a little weirdo about work. It's just so very endearing and also funny. Him saying that he recreates his day at work when he goes home is just so funny, and Gary rocks that paper bag. I don't know what to tell you. I wish I could love going to work as much as SpongeBob. Then the hours and days and years I give away in the name of capitalism when it feels so wasted. Oops, got serious for a second. Let me get back to the show. Anyway, I always like to see Squidward's disdain for his job contrasted with SpongeBob's love for it, and Squidward's disdain is well vocalized in this episode. It makes me think of some of the other good examples like Squid on Strike or The Play's the Thing, and his complaints here are pretty sensible given how nasty the Krusty Krab is depicted here. I also like this first minute or two as a setup for the episode. Squidward running a restaurant? Count me in. Squilliam Returns was fun, so why not see something similar? Plankton then bursts onto the scene, in an actually good example of a joke where the characters don't notice him. Catch it, super evil aquatic villain team up is go. And this is where excellence begins. This is just the first improvement over Sweet and Sour Squid. Plankton and Squidward start interacting very quickly. The second improvement is that I like Squidward coming into Plankton's environment more than Plankton coming into Squidward's. I don't know, something about Plankton's plan to steal the formula is something that does not change with context, while Squidward's aspirations are something that do change with context, and so this allows new character dynamics to shine. Or something like that anyway. That's my best guess as to why I like this setup more, but I'm mostly speculating. I also just really like how this episode emphasizes how similar these two characters are. As Karen says, they're both megalomaniacs, and I like that they're not instant friends or anything, just business partners. I like that Squidward's family just happens to have a recipe that makes Chum edible, and with the introduction of this recipe, we can see what direction the episode might take. But as I always say, predictability isn't an issue on its own, and this episode proves that, because I like what's to come, even if I can easily foresee it. It's fun to see Squidward's success in this next part of the episode. I really liked the commercial aspect, complete with those random stock images, and all of this makes me think of Chum Bucket Supreme as well, which I very nearly called Chum is Fum, because I always forget that that isn't the actual name of the episode. Mr. Krabs and SpongeBob then infiltrate Le Chum Bucket, and I love their outfits and fake facial hair here. This part of the episode is probably my least favorite, but that's not saying much considering I really like this part too. And once Mr. Krabs completely starts bawling, this part is funny as well. I love some drama. Eventually, though, all good things must come to an end, and by this I mean good things for Squidward and Plankton. I love how Squidward's grandma just pulls up to the Chum Bucket to school Squidward and making Chum Fricassee, and then leaves so that Squidward gets beat up by the angry customers. Squidward and Plankton's resulting back and forth is fun to watch, and again, a good example of their dynamic. Another thing I want to note in this episode is that I really like the animation here, or maybe more like the art. Just the character models and expressions are excellent, and it feels like we're starting to move into that season 9 feel, which is something that I've been saying for a few different episodes now, I believe. So just wait until I discuss this trend in my season 8 overview. I'll probably remember to do that anyway. Chum Fricassee is simply an excellent and hilarious episode that finally does justice to Squidward and Plankton's dynamic. Seeing these two interact is so fun, and as long as it keeps being done in a good way like this, I wouldn't mind seeing a lot more of this kind of stuff. And so, all of this is why this episode is going in my amazing tier, where it comes in with a score of 9.4 out of 10. As always, I'll be ending this video with some closing thoughts of mine. I can't believe how close we're getting to the end of this season. Like, it feels like I just started. What do you mean next week's reviews are the last two? What the hell? I actually just peeped that, like, right now. Wow. Things are moving so fast. Alright, well, anyway, we're not there quite yet, so I'll save the freak out for later. But, man, I can't wait to discuss more varied dynamics in this show, now that we're getting closer to that intensely experimental era. I'd love to see Plankton interact with like Mrs. Puff, and not in a he goes to boating school kind of way. Like, could be neat. Anything is neat when you got the writing to back it up. Okay, I think that's about all I've got for y'all today, so I'm gonna go ahead and close things out here, and I'll see y'all in the next review.